Well, friends, Russia has once again proven to the world that they make better decisions than the United States. Here we are at war with Russia, right? Whether we want to admit it or not, we are funding the Ukrainian war with Russia. We can spin it however we want, that it's aid or whatever, but we are essentially investing in every single thing that Ukraine needs to fight Russia. We're also helping Russia out because we are importing so much from Russia still. Don't think that we're not doing that. The Russia trade between Russia and the United States is so lopsided in Russia's favor that we can't even begin to compare the two. In fact, this release of Griner might actually be a reward for all the things the U.S. is still doing for Russia. So we're funding technically both sides of the Russia-Ukraine conflict right now. Well, what we've done is we've decided to give back the Merchant of Death, an international arms dealer who has provided firearms and arms at a very high level, surface-to-air missiles and the like, plastic explosives, machine guns. This guy has supplied these things to enemies of the United States, more notably in Afghanistan. Remember that long drawn-out conflict in Afghanistan that we simply just abandoned and gave $80 billion worth of stuff back to Afghanistan in order to kill us with? We actually fought some of the people in that conflict, the United States did, with weapons, arms, and other things that were supplied by, you got it, Victor Butte. This is the man that was exchanged for Brittany Griner. So we have Russia showing that they are getting this massive, impactful person that they have been wanting for so long back into Russia in exchange for a ball-bouncing dopehead. That's how we negotiate, right? It's obvious that it's all about optics, right? That's all that the United States seems to care about. How are we viewed? How are we going to potentially get reelected? They know that in general the American people are somewhat stupid. They won't do the research to find out the background of Victor Butte. They're not concerned with that. In fact, hell, they might have liked the movie Lord of War that it was loosely centered around. It was a great movie. This guy can't be that bad. He was kind of a charismatic person in the movie, right? That's how stupid the American people are. They probably think this is a fair trade. On the table back in June or July, we actually had a potential proposal by the Biden administration to get Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan, a former Marine who was arrested in Russia for their claiming for spying reasons. There was a deal on the table to get Griner and Paul Whelan back in exchange for Victor Butte. Still not an even trade, but we would have at least gotten a little bit more. We would have gotten someone. The CIA and the American government will never admit that Paul Whelan was working for him, just like they wouldn't anybody else. They tell their CIA agents that if you're captured, we'll never admit that you work for us. So this is standard, practice for them. Paul Whelan was definitely working for the CIA. This is an American who was doing work for America in Russia that got captured in Russia. We're not fighting to get him back. We're not trying to get the Merchant of Death back to Russia so that we can get one of our persons who are fighting for this country. We're trying to get a pot-smoking basketball player who hates America back to this country. Want to know a little bit more about Victor Butte? He's a former Soviet military officer. Now remember, Soviet, not Russian. He was part of the old USSR. Butte was serving a 25-year prison sentence in the United States on charges of conspiring to kill Americans, acquire and export anti-aircraft missiles, and provide material support to a terrorist organization. He was arrested in a sting operation in 2008 led by U.S. drug enforcement agents in Thailand, posing as the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, known by the acronym FARC. A U.S. attorney once said that Victor Butte has been international arms trafficking enemy #1 for many years, arming some of the most violent conflicts around the globe. This is a U.S. attorney stating this now. This is not some news agency that's making this claim. This attorney went on to say that he was finally brought to justice in an American court for agreeing to provide a staggering number of military-grade weapons to an avowed terrorist organization committed to killing Americans. Butte was supplying weapons to this organization, a guerrilla group that waged an insurgency in Colombia in 2016. The U.S. said the weapons were intended to kill U.S. citizens. He's also been accused of assembling a fleet of cargo planes to traffic military-grade weapons to conflict zones around the world since the 1990s, fueling bloody conflicts from Liberia to Sierra Leone and Afghanistan. This is how the United States establishes its priorities. We take somebody because we have a very small subset of people, and very small I might add, in the United States who are outraged that someone went to another country and broke their laws and now they were going to be detained for 9 years. Now, do I think the punishment fits the crime? No, I don't. I don't think that you should get 9 years for having cannabis in a little vial or whatever. I don't. But I also know that if I'm going to go to other countries, every time I've been to other countries, whether it's been Europe or Central and South America like I have been, I was very meticulous about investigating their laws to make sure that I didn't either spit bubblegum on the street or something silly like that that would wind me in jail in those countries. Very, very careful not to do that. You know that Brittany Griner knew this. If not, she's absolutely stupid. So that's her fault. Again, punishment didn't fit the crime, but if you know what the punishment is, don't commit the crime. We are giving a person who does not like the United States, who broke a law in another country, no matter how insignificant and small, we're giving them up for a person who has endangered citizens of the entire world, and more notably, the United States. Russia wants this man back, Victor Butte, not because they like him. This is not how Russia operates. It's not because they want to free him to his family to reunite once again. No, Victor Butte has sat in American prison cells and he has been interrogated by U.S. intelligence time and time again. So he knows our tactics. He knows what we're looking for because we have questions that we asked him based on the kind of information that we are looking for. We have essentially given Victor Butte a ton of intelligence on how we operate on our intelligence side back to him so that he can go back over to Russia now and they can debrief him and he can teach them how we operate. So now they know how to function to get around some of our tactics and our rules over here, how we operate within our own intelligence agency. Another thing, they now have the guy who is essentially the mastermind of providing weaponry to people around the world who hate and dislike the United States and want to see our citizens, our military, and folks like that tied to America killed. It's no small task. This guy knows the ins and outs. He knows how to get around United States intelligence. He knows how to maneuver throughout the world through various channels, one way or the other, posing as different people, posing as different types of organizations to get weapons behind the scenes and around United States eyes and eyeballs watching what's going on. Russia just can't fly these big cargo planes into these countries and arm up these people who want to kill us. They can't just do that. What they can do is use the support of somebody else who is doing it under the guise of a private person, when essentially it's a de facto extension of the military, the Russian military. He's doing the work of the Russian military, just like our CIA operates with people who will never claim that they work for them. Russia does the same thing. So Victor Butte will be spearheading campaigns around the world to now arm people who want to kill Americans, not just outside the borders of America. Remember, we have a porous southern border. So now we're going to be arming people across the world with not just rifles, machine guns, and things like that. We're talking about plastic explosives, anti-aircraft missiles, and things of that nature. Now they can come in through our southern border, which is wide open, and harm American citizens on U.S. soil. So this trade is not an equal trade. This trade is not one where they just got somebody back and they'll have a big dinner and a parade over in Russia to celebrate his arrival back into the country. This trade puts Americans at risk, and we should be concerned with this. As law-abiding gun owners in America, we are watching the Biden administration, which is totally anti-gun, willfully provide firearms to the rest of the world out there to harm Americans. Now more than ever, we should be looking at and trying to protect our own Second Amendment rights, because we're going to need them now more than ever, because the U.S. government is stating through trades like this that they have no intention of protecting the American people.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's on my armor!